Hi, it's Sue Greenwald here with Awakened Stories. I'm here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Dee, how are you?
I'm good today. How's it going?
I'm doing good. So today's topic, Dee doesn't even know about yet. It's going to be sharks. So I want to ask a few questions about sharks in general. I'm sure we're going to get some information we didn't even think about before. So, do sharks originate on Earth or from another planet, or were they created?
A mixture. Most of them are from another planet, but there are sharks that have been created.
Okay. So how did they get here from another planet? Were they brought in, on ships or whatever? Did they portal in?
Most of them portaled in.
They did.
Yeah. So the sharks that, I mean, there's a lot that's unknown about sharks, but they do have the ability to portal in. That's why, when they talk about nesting for sharks, they don't know where they actually like procreate, that kind of thing. Like it's a whole big mystery about where the sharks go. Um, so they do have abilities to portal.
Oh, so sharks portal in and out of the ocean all the time, is what you're saying.
Yes. That's why it's harder for them to track them during certain times.
Wow. That's pretty interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said there are created sharks. So we were calling them mechanical sharks, but we had talked about this maybe a year ago. I think it was our first mermaid video, but you had told me that many of the sharks are created, and I was like kind of surprised because I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah.
So so are they cloned or how are they created? Like,
There's a mixture. So they do have some cloning happening. Now that we're a little more advanced, before it was more mechanical.
yeah,
But there is still a mixture of cloning and mechanical for purpose of having control over the being.
right.
So having that mechanical function, they feel that they have more control on where it goes, what it does, and that kind of thing. Versus if it's a clone, there's a little more, what's it gonna do? A
Okay.
little less control.
So if you have a mechanical shark, you can control where it goes and what it does.
Yes. So
Same
think
with
about it like a controller with a car. Like you have a little more power of the control. Not saying that's going to last forever, but it's going to last longer than, allowing a being having a mind of its own.
right. Okay. So, in general, what is we'll call them natural sharks' purpose? Like, why are they here on Earth? Like, why do they come?
Um, they're here to work with the oceans to keep I don't want to say peace, but they're here to keep it calm and collected. Now, when we think of sharks, we think negative, angry. Honestly, sharks don't really kill that many people, and the ones that we know of are usually more mechanical in that sense. They're also here to clean up our oceans. So there are some positive things from the sharks versus, our take on them.
Right. So they're here to clean up the oceans.
Mhm.
They stir up the energy in the water, I guess.
Mhm.
And are they like maybe like kind of police in the ocean? Do they like
They would be more of the police in the ocean versus, the whale or the dolphin.
yeah,
They keep it moving in the form it's supposed to go. Now they are meat eaters. They still have to have a diet. Just it's not human. And that's where a lot of people are always concerned. Like when they go to the beach, the sharks are gonna get them. Those sharks tend to be the ones that are being controlled. Um, so they'll also clean up the waters. So I mean, I know the big thing is we'll see videos of the whale carcasses, and people are very sad about that. But that whale was supposed to move on for a specific purpose. Like it was their time. But the sharks help feed off of it so that they can keep controlling around and keeping the peace and things moving correctly. The ocean is a lot bigger than we, can really imagine because it's so deep. whereas a shark can go down and swim those levels. So they can get a lot further than what we can. So they can patrol, see how the energy is working, how the energy is flowing, what's actually happening down there.
Okay. So if a shark goes deep, are there portals down deep or are they wherever? Like, you know how I think you said the whales, they can create a portal and like swim right into it. They have to
Mhm.
have a little distance or whatever, but they,
Sharks are a little different. They have to have a portal in a specific location.
okay.
So they're not going to put a portal up right in front of them. So that's where, like I said earlier, with their tracking, they just kind of like disappear off the tracking. You don't know where they go, and then they all of a sudden they come back. So they are able to do jumps like that, but there is a specific location. And then they also have them deeper so that others can't find them. I mean, you'd have to get in a really nice sub, go down and really hunt for them.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? We're taught that sharks are these mindless, aggressive, angry creatures, and that
Yeah,
like basically no shark, a good shark is like gone. There's no sharks, you know, uh,
yeah,
and that's really the media working for us. But we really need them at this point to keep the ocean moving along with the whales and the dolphins. Sounds like.
yes. So they all have their own purposes. They're just a little different.
Okay. So do sharks work with the mer people?
Yes, they do.
Right. So they have telepathic communication, I assume.
Yeah, of course. So they're not, sharks aren't as vocal as, whales or dolphins. So they are telepathic. They just work in a different way. They are more of an observer too, versus one that's going to always be talking like a whale or dolphin. So that's why we don't really hear them communicate.
Okay. Interesting. Now, you had said before that like sharks are harder to be controlled. So, and I mean the again, we're talking the natural ones.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you meant by the mer people and the dolphins and the whales.
Uh, by anything really.
Okay.
They will work with who they think they're supposed to work with, the energy that they think they're supposed to work with. But they're not one to go off course. So like we said, kind of like police of the ocean. They're
Right.
going to stay on track and they're going to do what they've got to do, even if the beings around them might not like it. They've kind of got their jobs to do and they're going to do it. Um, they're not trying to harm or hurt anybody. So if you see that, that means it's probably not the shark you're actually looking for. Um, but they are here for a purpose and they're going to do what they've got to do.
Okay. All right. So the whales and dolphins can suggest something, or the mer people can suggest something, and the shark really gets to decide whether or not it wants to do it.
Yes. Yeah, because it knows its purpose. It knows what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
And it's not going to be controlled by others. It's going to do what it needs to do.
Okay. Well, here I wanted to just put a little story out there. I got a hit that we were supposed to do a video on sharks a few days ago, and that very day there were two shark attacks in Destin, all right,
Hmm.
Florida. So there were two shark attacks. I'm not sure if there were two or three people that got attacked. One of them got injured quite severely, and I'm sure both of them did. Okay, so not to lighten up anything, but it caused a lot of fear, and they're still talking about it. And then the next day, two more sharks were seen, although they didn't attack. Okay, so again, everyone got it on video. There's a lot of buzz
Hmm.
on social media. You're able to look it up all over. Oh my God, a shark attack. But we were getting, and Smarty said it first, although I was thinking it's a mechanical shark attack. All right. And so he confirmed that. And there have been a couple more seen in the area. So he's been working on clearing the area. Do you agree with all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've seen, them posting all about it, about the sharks, why the sharks are there. So it's part of an agenda, one, to keep people out of the area slash out of the waters. But also, if you notice, it's about their fishing habits. So they're trying to control the amount of fishing that's going on too. So there's more control that they're trying to partake in these shark attacks than just keeping people out of the water.
Oh,
Mhm.
interesting. Interesting. So basically, who the dark forces, we say, are the ones that are controlling these created slash mechanical sharks.
Yes.
So they were like, okay, go over to the destined area and cause fear and, panic. People,
Hmm.
what I've heard through the grapevine is people are canceling trips to the area. Everyone's afraid to go into the water. So that affects business, it affects economy,
Yeah.
and people are afraid. So it trickles down. But what do you mean about it affects the fishing? Are the fishermen afraid to go out there too?
No, so they have something on with the fishing. So they're saying that because we took this ban off with fishing, that the sharks are now coming down more. They have more rights to the water. So
Ah,
now they want to bring these bills back so that way we can take the fish out. And part of the issue with our oceans is we are taking too many fish out. The ecosystem isn't
balanced.
correct.
Yeah.
So if we keep fishing them, our ecosystem keeps going down, the oceans keep dying, yada, yada, yada. So what they're trying to do by this, not only cause an issue with the economic system, but also within our ecosystem.
Right. And the food supply. Do you notice how all the chicken farms, the egg farms, the beef farm, everything has been mysteriously caught on fire, So our food
Yes,
prices are going up, 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 and they're trying to create shortages in every area. So this could
yes.
be one way that they create a seafood shortage,
Hmm.
right? Ooh. So they're really trying to control things and they're using various beings to help them with that plan. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So the second topic of today's video is a surprise. Megalodon. All right. So Megalodon is supposed to be an ancient, giant, giant, giant shark. Like right now, the sharks that we have, the great white is supposed to be the biggest, the baddest, and the meanest, but
Hmm.
physically largest shark that we have. But the Megalodon is substantially larger. And of course,
Yeah.
we got two awesome movies called Meg and Meg 2, which they really missed a good opportunity, but they're the
They would
cheap,
force you to watch it.
most poorly done movie, like you know,
Yeah,
ridiculous movies ever. But question, is the Megalodon a real creature?
of course.
Okay.
So the Megalodon is super awesome. I really like them. I really like Megalodons.
Okay.
They're ginormous. They are definitely still around. Um, Now going off of the Meg and the Meg 2, um, not everything it portrayed is correct, but they do live behind that layer. So in that first movie, when they go down past a certain layer, the larger beings and creatures are. So the megalodon, the giant squid, all of that, they do stay down there. So they're past a certain point. That's why we don't see them.
Okay.
So it's kind of like they have their own protective layer where they're supposed to stay, so that way they don't interfere with what's going on in our oceans right now.
Okay.
So part of that was accurate, just not all of it.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, the cheesiest, poorly done movie, but interesting that the topic's coming out in the public eye again.
Yes.
I know there was a like Discovery show,
Mhm.
about they had them on radar and the sharks were there and very interesting stuff. So what is their purpose? They're like just giant, giant sharks, but
They're giant sharks and they're ancient. So they're ancient beings versus, you know, sharks now, they are old, but they're not as ancient. So think about when the giants were here. Everything was larger. It wasn't smaller like what we have now. Everything had a larger piece to it.
So they're ancient and they were from the time of giants. Are they from another planet as well? Do they portal like the regular sharks do?
Yes, they portal. They just can't portal anymore.
Oh,
Um, one, it's like their portation is very limited, compared to the other beings. One, because they're so large. I mean, really, where are they gonna go? So they have very specific places that they can portal.
wait.
But for the most part, they stay here. Um, think of them more as like guardians.
Okay. Interesting. Now, do they like feed on the gray whites and are they like
Um, their eating habit, I mean, they're huge beings. I mean, they do have, have to
eat a
eat a
lot of
little bit
food?
more.
Yeah.
But they can sustain a little bit longer without food than we would think.
Okay.
They do feed off of larger
Creatures.
creatures when they have to
Okay.
because they are so large.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know about them? Like they're not really a threat to humanity, right? And
No, 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 no. They're not a threat. They just like to make movies off them.
yeah, yeah.
Um, they're very interesting creatures. I mean, I love the megalodon. I mean, of course they're real. Like they're massive. I mean, our oceans are huge, so why wouldn't we have these huge creatures? We just don't always see them. So they are more of guardian ideal. They're not as vicious as they put into the movies. But they are like really cool.
Okay. All right. Anything else we should know about Megalodon?
I don't know. I mean, if anybody has questions, always
Yeah.
put them in. We'll try to hit them.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for now. I can't really think of anything that's like popping up per
Okay.
se.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I just wanted to ask, for general, like getting the ball rolling. Now, one other topic I haven't told you about is I wanted to ask about the Kraken. So again, Clash of the Titans and other mythology and in sailing ships, we hear of the Kraken, which is a creature that's so big and so ferocious, it's feared by all, but it's like a big giant squid type of a creature.
Yes.
Is the Kraken real?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And it would be down where the megalodon is.
Yeah.
It's not as vicious as they portray. Now they also didn't say like the Kraken was a being that was being manipulated and used. So when we talk about Greek mythology and how the Kraken came up and all that stuff, it was being misused and misguided. So we don't really have to worry about that. I mean, sailors, they're gonna see probably large squid, but they're not gonna see the Kraken.
Ooh, okay. So it is real. Are there more than one?
Yes. The original Kraken is still pretty large. It's probably the largest species of the Kraken, whatever you want to call it. Um, there are other Krakens, but they're not as large. So the original is the largest.
Interesting. Interesting. So they were manipulated by the Olympians, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes, because they had
Ooh.
access to them. So at some point in time, there was that barrier I was talking about. It wasn't always there. So at one point, these beings were just circulating the ocean's free will. They had a little more ability to move. And then once these layers were put in, that's when they're kind of like stayed in their area, a little more protected, that kind of thing. Um, but before that, they were able to get more access to these creatures.
Thank you. All right.
Mhm.
So if there's any questions, share them and I'll ask again in a future video. But I thank you for all your time, Dee. Thank you so
Of
much.
course, thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.